Hi everyone, Mr. Alberto here. Gonna be going over fast pauses, some tips for it, all the tips that I have for it, and yeah, let's get started. So first thing I'm gonna talk about is so what I do is I double tap the start button. That's the technique for this pausing method, and it's supposed to get a faster pausing rhythm than this. And the way you get it is you double tap. It's a gallop. So it da 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 da. This can be varied in how fast it is, depending on how short your double tap is. So a really short one, you can go really fast. But if it's a really spread out one, you can go really slow with it. So it depends on how condensed you do your pausing. So if you want to get a really fast rhythm, you need to really have short double taps. So to make sure that I don't have any pain, there's a lot of things that I keep in mind. One is posture. So I kind of sit up. You want to have your back. It could be resting against something, but you don't want to be slouching over, and you don't want to be slouching way back. So you kind of want to be sitting up. So posture I found is really helpful for this. Another thing is that you want to not be tensing anything up. So when I'm doing the rhythm, it's tiny motions. So I'm not doing big motions. That's another thing. No big motions. Very tiny. You can see it's kind of like a wave in my arm. Like my arm is moving because I'm allowing it to move. It's resting against my side. So both arms are resting. I'm not raising the gamepad. I'm not gripping it. I'm kind of just, relaxing it in my hands. And I'm resting everything. And so allow everything to move. So you can see my arm is sort of moving, right? It's because I'm not locking it in place. I'm not tensing up. No tensing. It's all just very fluid and relaxed. And so what happens if you do everything I just said and you still feel pain? Because that's actually pretty common. That is probably because you're overworking it. So even if you do everything I just said and you don't tense anything up and you're very relaxed and you're still feeling a lot of pain, well, not only is this trick, not only does it require proper technique, but even if you have proper technique, you need to build up stamina for it. So if you're just learning the trick, it's very likely that you can't do this and stay relaxed. It's very hard because your muscles have not developed. You don't have the capacity to do this for that long. So what do? You start slower. And if you can't do this, you start even slower. But the goal of this is to increase your speed until you can get to the faster rhythm, because that's what's faster in the game, and that's also what's safer. So you could start out slower. If you want to start out slower, you can space out the start presses. And that will help you do a slower rhythm. Or you can just do an even rhythm. But the goal is to increase the rhythm the more you go. You want to increase the rate at which you're pausing, because if you pause faster, you will get faster swims. So that, and then I'll explain kind of what the rhythm looks like and what I do if I early pause. So the rhythm is I'm double tapping, but between each double tap. So basically so double tap, and then there's this space where the game is unpausing actually. And then another space, obviously it's a lot faster. This space is the 7-frame window that the game unpauses. That's when I switch analog stick directions, and I hold it until I switch it again. So I'll go double tap down, double tap up, double tap down, so like this. So you could slow it down to see what I'm doing. And I'm not switching directions that quickly, because I have 7 frames. That's actually a lot of time. You don't want to do this. So what I'm doing is I'm going start up start, start down start, start down start. If I do it like that, you're actually going to ruin the rhythm, and I highly recommend not doing it. Instead, it's start, start up, start, start down. So you could do it like a triplet. That's what I did when I first learned it. Kind of like this. I'm not very good at it anymore, but I learned it like a triplet. Start, start down, start, start up, start, start down. And you could do that around 160 pauses per minute. I'm not as good as it anymore, but that's how I learned it, and then I increased my rhythm. So, what do you do if you get pain? If you everything that I said about the analog stick and the hand to rest your hand, and you still get pain, well, take a break. You need to build up stamina for this, and sometimes something could just not feel good. It could be inflamed. It's not used to something. Make sure you take a break, and it can be extended. If you get injured, which I did, I injured right here on my forearm, and it was so painful to manual swim. I took a month break, came back, felt amazing. I actually have not had that kind of pain since. I've also had pain in my finger, but I caught it early because you need to listen to your body. So I had pain actually in the underside of my finger, right around here. I took a 2 to 3 week break, came back, don't feel pain anymore. So you could kind of go through cycles like that, but the more you do this, the more stamina you'll have and the longer you can do it for. So do not worry if you can't do it now, you'll be able to do it later. Start slow and get faster if you're not ready for it. That's what I did. So lastly, the rhythm is kind of confusing because you can get an early pause. If you hit the start button early, you could see what early pauses look like. So basically, if you hear the game going bloom, 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 and then it goes boo-doom, bloom, bloom, bloom. That's an early pause when it goes doo-doom. So basically what's happening is the second start press is pausing the game rather than the first one. That's why the game stays unpaused for a short amount of time. If I get that, what I do is I then single tap the game. So let's say it stays unpaused like this, right? So what I'll do is I will not change analog stick directions. I will pause for a little bit. Like I will like my left stick will stay there until I single tap the start press to unpause, and then I'll keep going. So go. Kind of like that, but it's hard to show quickly. I'll try to get some, and you can slow it down to see what I'm doing. Because you saw there's like a hesitation in my left stick whenever I get it. Because whenever you early pause, it throws off your stick rhythm, and you have to adjust to get it back to where it was. And same thing with the pausing rhythm. That's why I single tap to unpause. Because when you early pause, the game will stay in the pause menu for longer than it usually does. Because the time that you're waiting to unpause is now the time you're spending in the pause menu. So it inverts it. And you need to re-invert it to get back to the previous rhythm. So that's why I do all that I do. So yeah, that's basically all the tips I have. To summarize what I went over, I talked about the rhythm itself and how it works. I talked about how to make sure that you have proper technique, emphasis on small. Everything that you want to do is small motions and relax. I talked about even if you do get pain, what do you do? There are also, it really helps if you do massages and stretches. That's another thing that's very helpful if you ever feel like there's tension and it's kind of, and it feels like you need to stretch. You can stretch. There's a lot of good stretches that you can do and massages of the muscle if you're feeling that, and make sure you take breaks. I also talked about how I move the analog stick and how I adjust if I get early pauses. So that's it. That's all my advice. I hope this helps. This tutorial did not go over the upcharge. I will be going through that in another tutorial, hopefully. Alright, that's it. See you.